So in your bag of supplies, I gave you all a couple things to do this little project called Sink or Float. There was a bag with some items in it and also a piece of paper that says sink or float. And just like we've done before, I want you to try and see which things sink. That's this column that says sink. See, there's something under the water. That means it went under the water. Or float. See, this boat is floating on top of the water. So if one of these items sinks, I want you to make a little line right here. Or if it floats, make one right here and see how many things you found that sink and how many things you find that float. Okay, so I have my big bowl here. Now you can do this project in the bathtub. You could do it outside in just a bowl of water, or like your frog habitat that you made. You could use a tray like that, or you could do it in the kitchen or in a sink. Ask your mom and dad what you can use for this, okay? And if you make a mess, remember you have to clean it up. That's the rule. Okay, so here are the objects. I'm going to start with this shiny star. I don't know. It's pretty light, so I kind of think it might float, but I'm not sure. Okay, let's find out and see. It's floating. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my piece of paper, and I'm going to write a little check mark right there, a little line that says float, because it's floating. Okay, now let me do the next one. I'm going to do the seashell. Okay, this is kind of heavy. I'm not really sure, but they're in the water, although I don't usually see shells floating on the water. I usually see them on the sand. Let's see. I'm not sure what it's going to do. Let's look. Oh, that went right to the bottom. That totally sunk. Okay, so I'm going to make a little line for that one on my sink chart. See my little line right there? Okay, let's find one more thing. How about, or the rest of the things? Pom-pom. Pretty light. I think it might float. Oh, wait a minute. It was floating. It got wet and it kind of went underwater, but it's still floating. It didn't go to the bottom. So I think I'm going to call that a float. Okay, so I'm going to write float, make another little line. So I have two floats and one that sunk. Okay, how about a pine cone? Pine cones are light. I feel like it could maybe float. I'm really not sure. I don't think I've ever tried that before. Is it sinking? It's floating. It's still floating. Okay, I think it floated. So now I have 3 tally marks under my float. Okay, now this little flower petal, I think this is light. I think this is gonna float. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. My prediction was wrong. It floated, but then it got wet and it sunk to the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna put that one for sink. So I have 2 for sink and 3 for float. Okay, dragon tear, what do you think? I think it's gonna sink like crazy. Oh, it did. Okay, so now I have sink. So now I have 3 for sink and 3 for float. Okay, now I'm gonna get this little crab, you maybe had a crab or a whale or some kind of little piece of this foamy stuff. I think it's gonna float. Somehow I got 2 stuck together. Put them in there. They floated. So I'll put 2 more for floating. So look, let's count them. So I've got 1, 2, 3 for sink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for float. So I found more things that floated. Okay, now you can do this all on your own too. You can use the things in the bag, and you can also go and find things around your house, maybe some of your toys or some things in nature outside, like grass or rocks or leaves. And you can write down whether they sunk or they were floating and put it on your little chart right here, and then you can keep track. But try to guess before you do it and see if you're right or not.